The wind howled across the vast, cold expanse of Alaska's wilderness. Christopher McCandless, a young man with dreams bigger than his years, stood at the edge of the world. He had no map, no guide, just a backpack, a few supplies, and an unshakable belief that he could conquer nature. But nature wasn't waiting for him. The wilds of Alaska are unforgiving, and this journey, which had started as an escape, was about to turn into something far darker than Christopher ever imagined. Days passed, and his supplies dwindled, the snow thickening with each step he took deeper into the woods. What began as a dream of freedom, of finding himself in the isolation of nature, would soon turn into a desperate fight for survival. In the heart of the Alaskan wilderness, the elements, the hunger, and the unknown would become his enemies. This is the story of a young man who dared to live alone in the wild, only to find that nature does not forgive the reckless. It's a story of hope, isolation, and haunting choices, one that would end in tragedy, but also teach us all about the raw power of the natural world and the will to survive. Christopher McCandless, also known as Alex Supertramp, had everything: friends, family, and education, and a future full of possibilities. But that wasn't enough for him. The call of the wild, of freedom, of escaping the confines of society was stronger. So he left it all behind. His family, his friends, his comfortable life. In the spring of 1992, he ventured into the Alaskan wilderness alone, armed only with a sense of youthful idealism and a deep longing to live without the constraints of the modern world. He believed that by cutting ties with society, he could find the purity and freedom he sought. But freedom comes with a price, and soon McCandless would discover how unforgiving nature could be. The first few days were beautiful. The rugged beauty of Alaska, its endless forests and untouched lands, gave him a sense of peace and excitement. But the deeper he went into the wild, the more he realized how little he truly knew about survival. His gear was basic, his supplies minimal, but the euphoria of escape blinded him. He thought he had prepared enough. After all, he had hiked before, lived off the land, and read extensively about wilderness survival. But nothing prepared him for the crushing isolation and the harsh realities of Alaska's wild. Christopher soon realized that the wild wasn't the romantic paradise he had imagined. Every step he took felt like a step deeper into a labyrinth of endless trees, snow, and ice. The landscape became hostile, the wildlife unpredictable, and the air colder than he anticipated. He made camp in an old bus, abandoned long before the bus became his refuge, but it also became a symbol of his entrapment. While it offered him shelter, it was also a reminder of the inescapable reality he was facing. The days turned into weeks. Hunger gnawed at him as he hunted small game and foraged for whatever he could find. But the farther he ventured from civilization, the less he was able to manage. His food ran low. He couldn't find enough to eat. Desperation set in. McCandless, with his idealism fading, began to realize the truth. Survival in the wild is not just about the ability to endure harsh conditions, but about having the right skills and knowledge. His naivety was now a burden, and with each passing day, his physical and mental state deteriorated. The isolation began to weigh on him. Days blurred into nights, and the haunting silence of the wilderness surrounded him. The wildlife that once seemed so vibrant and free now seemed like an ominous reminder of his struggle to survive. The nights were the worst, when the cold seeped into his bones and the hunger gnawed at him. But the most terrifying realization of all came when Christopher discovered that the river he had crossed earlier had swollen beyond recognition. It had become impassable, trapping him in the wild. He could not return the way he came. His options were dwindling. His physical strength was diminishing. McCandless was no longer just fighting for survival. He was fighting the harsh realities of his own choices. The harsh price of freedom. And in the depths of that wilderness, he realized something deeply tragic. He had been a stranger to this land, and the land had become a stranger to him. Weeks passed, and McCandless's situation became more dire. His health was failing, he was weak from hunger, and his body had begun to waste away. He knew his only option was to get back to civilization, but the river was still too dangerous to cross. He tried to live off the wild, but his attempts to hunt were futile. The once vibrant and life-giving land had turned against him, and every attempt to forage seemed to end in failure. His body was shutting down, and his mind was clouded with confusion and fear. But the worst was yet to come. In his desperation, McCandless made one final attempt to escape. He ate some berries he found, but they were poisonous. The toxins from the berries wreaked havoc on his body. Alone, in the same place he had once found peace, he succumbed to the very wilderness that had called to him. Christopher McCandless's journey was not one of simple escape or adventure. His story is a tragic reminder of the complexity of freedom and how the wilderness doesn't just test physical endurance, but the soul. He came to the wild seeking answers, but what he found was the brutal truth. The natural world is indifferent and unforgiving. In his final moments, McCandless penned his thoughts in a journal. "I have had a happy life, and thank the Lord. Goodbye, and may God bless all." His story has inspired countless others to question their own limits, to seek true adventure, and to respect the power of nature. But it also serves as a lesson in humility and preparation. No dream of freedom is without cost. Christopher McCandless may have died alone in that bus, but his journey still lives on. His legacy is a warning and an inspiration. To venture into the wild is to face both its beauty and its terror. But no matter how dark the journey becomes, the spirit of adventure endures. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this adventure, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We have more incredible stories coming soon. See you next time.